my beloved child. Have you ever wondered why some events come so quickly that before you can even catch your breath, everything has already shifted? Why just one small, rushed decision? One moment stirred by temporary emotion. You can unfold into a chain of complications you never expected. You thought it was simply a mistake. But let me tell you something gentle yet profound. Every choice opens a spiritual door. Some doors lead you into peace, and some into chaos. Not because I punish you, but because the spiritual realm operates by principle. And choices always carry consequences. You move too fast, too impatiently, too confident in your ability to manage things on your own. And the door of chaos opened before you even noticed. Yet I do not come to point fingers. I come to take your hand and lead you out with the tenderness of a father and the clarity of light. You have tasted something many people never speak about: the quiet fear of realizing you accidentally walked through the wrong door. The disorientation, the feeling of being caught in something larger than your ability to control. You thought, if only I hadn't rushed, if only I had listened to Father sooner. But I do not want you to remain in the land of if only. I want you to understand this. I use those very missteps to teach you discernment, to open your eyes, to let you see the door of chaos, not to frighten you, but to help you recognize that the door of peace is always right beside it. I know you did not do it on purpose. I know you did not understand everything yet. I know you were simply trying to escape the emptiness you felt in that moment. And I speak this so your heart may rest wherever you fell. I will heal. You often think chaos is an external attack, but it is really the consequence of a door opened out of rhythm. When you do not listen to me, when you follow the voice of emotion, when you choose what is immediate instead of what I whispered, you step one beat out of alignment, and just one beat is enough for another door to swing open. I did not want that door to open. But spiritual doors do not distinguish between intentional and accidental. They respond to the direction your heart leans. I tell you this not to make you blame yourself, but to help you understand how crucial rhythm is with me. I speak softly. You hear faintly. But when you slow down, when you think more deeply, when you breathe before choosing, that is how I keep you. Not by force, but by companionship. And these very moments will become golden lessons for the road ahead. You have experienced humility, not through a sermon, but through reality. Not the kind of humility that bows its head out of politeness, but the true kind the moment you realized, I need Father more than I thought. Humility is knowing you can no longer live by quick reactions, by old instincts, by confidence in your own self. Humility is when you slow down and say, Father, I do not want to open another wrong door. And I smile when you say this, not because you fear failure, but because you are beginning to place me in the position where your emotions used to sit. This is the beginning of all restoration, restoring my place in your decisions. Let me tell you this clearly: I do not use chaos to teach you. I use light to lead you out of chaos. Not everything that happens is something I authored, but I can turn everything into a lesson that draws you back into rhythm. What you call failure, I call a starting point. What you call trouble, I call a mirror of choices. What you call chaos, I call an alarm bell. Not to scare you, but to cut off the old cycles. You walked through a door that was not of peace, and I have come to guide you out, not with reprimand, but with the kind of love that understands the root. For I see what you have not seen beneath those rushed choices was a heart simply searching for a refuge. This is why I do not blame you deep inside. You were only looking for what I, myself, long to give you: peace, direction, clarity. You just looked in the wrong place. You just listened to the wrong voice. You just moved too quickly to sense the gentle nudge I had already sent. And my child, I never speak harshly to someone who is lost. I simply place my hand on their shoulder and say, "Wrong direction. Walk with me." And the moment you hear that, your soul softens, because somewhere in the deepest place, you know only I can lead you out without leaving scars. You did not realize that this recent upheaval was an invitation back into my rhythm. Not a rushed rhythm, not a pressured rhythm, but a rhythm that is clear, slow, peaceful. I am gathering you from the scattered places, quieting the noise around you, making your heart sensitive again, so you can learn to hear me in a new way. You once knew how to hear me in seasons of calm, but now you are learning to hear me amidst shaking. And my voice does not change, gentle, clear, never forcing, never demanding, yet reaching the places you never had words for. That is how I restore. So do not be ashamed of the hurried decisions you once made. I do not turn them into stains, I turn them into signs. Signs that you are stepping into a deeper journey of spiritual maturity. Signs that you have reached the point where I desire to teach you something new. Signs that you are shifting seasons. You are not returning to the starting line. You are stepping into a higher circle. I do not revisit the past to remind you of wrong. I take you farther so you may understand rightly. And this is the beginning of a gentle yet profoundly real journey where I will nudge you step by step, correct you rhythm by rhythm, and love you bit by bit. For that is how I turn what disturbed you yesterday into the lasting peace of tomorrow. My child, I know there are moments when you fear hearing my truth because you believe truth will hurt you. But let me correct that belief. The truth I speak always carries healing with it. I never speak to make you collapse. I speak to make you stand. I do not only point out what is wrong, I show you the way out, not to shame you, but to free you. And today, I want you to step past the fear of being corrected. For I do not correct you from a distance. I correct you with my hand still resting on your shoulder. My discipline always comes with my support, and this is what will help you understand the past no longer has the power to define you. You once believed that when you made a mistake, I would step back, but the truth is completely the opposite when you are weak. I draw nearer. When you are confused, I lean closer to whisper. When you wander, I walk slowly behind you so I do not frighten you. You did not realize that through all that time, I was whispering. But the noise of anxiety drowned my voice out. That is why the first step of restoration is not changing your actions, but silencing the noise inside your heart. That is where I begin to heal, not from the outside environment, but from the inner place where your turmoil is greatest. And when your inner world becomes quiet, you will see everything around you begin to quiet as well. I do not merely point out mistakes. I do what no one else does. I teach you how to step back into the light in a practical and simple way. First comes your words, for you do not realize that your very words have opened the wrong doors. Rushed words open rushed doors. Bitter words open wounds. Fearful words open darkness. I want you to relearn the habit of speaking with peace, speaking with slowness, speaking with discernment. When you change your words, the spiritual atmosphere around you changes. This is not something lofty. It is the first practical step of restoration that I want you to grasp. Next comes your actions. You do not need to do something great. You only need to do what is right. I am not calling you to change your entire life in one day. I am calling you to correct one rhythm at a time. Today, stop at the right moment. Tomorrow, tell the truth to yourself. The next day, choose peace over reaction. These small steps are the path out of chaos. And each time you take a small action for my sake, I add new strength to you. No one sees it, but I see it. No one applauds, but I support you. No one understands, but I know every breath of effort within you. But the truth is completely the opposite when you are weak. I draw nearer. When you are confused, I lean closer to whisper. When you wander, I walk slowly behind you so I do not frighten you. You did not realize that through all that time, I was whispering. But the noise of anxiety drowned my voice out. That is why the first step of restoration is not changing your actions, but silencing the noise inside your heart. The separation you perceive as pain is actually protection. And in time, I will add the right people, the healthy relationships, the souls who will walk with you in the light. You do not need to strive. I will do it. You may ask, if I have failed so many times, is there anything left to save? I hear that question in every tear you shed. And I say this clearly, there is no damage beyond my ability to heal. There is no ruin beyond my power to rebuild. There is no chaos so deep that I cannot find you. I do not look at you through the lens of your mistakes. I look at you through the lens of your potential. I do not see you through the chapter of failure. I see you through the chapter I am writing next. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. You are still in my hands, and that alone is enough for everything to be made new again. I know there are things you do not say because you fear disappointing me. But I want you to hear this: you cannot disappoint me in the way you think. I see your entire journey from beginning to end. I know every place you will fall before you fall. I know every step you will drift before you drift. And still I choose you. I still set my hand upon your life. I still weave plans of peace for you. So do not fear telling me the truth. You do not need to pretend to be strong. You only need to be genuine. When you are genuine, I heal. When you open your heart, I fill it. When you dare to give me your wounds, I mend them with a tenderness no human being could ever replace. And finally, I want you to know this, something that will shape the entire journey ahead of you. Restoration is not effort, it is surrender. When you push too hard, you exhaust yourself. When you surrender, you are guided. When you strain, you grow weary. When you lean into me, you are lifted. You do not need to prove that you have changed. You only need to follow me a little more each day. I am the one who leads you out of chaos. You are not the one pulling yourself out. I do not require you to be strong. I require you to be honest. And when you are honest, everything else is my responsibility. My child. Now, I want to bring you into the deeper part of the journey, the part of understanding, learning, and practicing, not just feeling. Because if you understand me correctly, you will walk correctly, and if you walk correctly, you will no longer open doors that lead to chaos. I do not want you to live your faith by reaction, but by awareness, and awareness is not natural, it is learned. I will teach you, little by little, not rushed, not forced, but steadily, like a patient teacher guiding a student through the pages of the soul. You never need to fear being slow to learn. I only need you willing, for I am the one who never grows tired of explaining again, repeating again, reminding again so long as you still desire to come closer. First, I want to correct the way you understand me. You often think I speak loudly only when you do wrong and stay silent when you do right. But the truth is this: I speak consistently, gently, and continuously. It is just that your ears are accustomed to loudness while my voice is subtle. I do not guide through noise, I guide through peace. When you walk into what is right, you will feel an inner quietness, not because I am silent, but because I agree. When you walk into what is wrong, you will feel uneasiness, not because I am angry, but because I am warning you. If you learn to recognize the difference between these two sensations, you will know what I am saying without thunder or signs. I also want to teach you how to distinguish my voice from your own. Your voice is often rushed and anxious, wanting decisions made quickly just to escape discomfort. My voice is slower, softer, yet unmistakably clear. Your voice is often driven by fear, fear of missing opportunities, fear of being abandoned, fear of being judged. My voice never pushes from fear. I guide from peace. Your voice wants to avoid pain, avoid difficulty, avoid change. My voice leads you through those things because I know what goodness lies on the other side. When you learn this difference, you will no longer confuse emotion with guidance, and that becomes the foundation of a wise life. Next, I want to teach you how to adjust the rhythm of your life. You have been running faster than your soul can bear. You make choices based on what you see, not based on what you hear from me. You react out of fear of losing, not out of confidence that you are being led. I want you to learn a very important skill: stopping, simply stopping. 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, just enough to ask, Lord, am I hearing correctly? Am I going too fast? Am I opening a door that does not belong to me? When you know how to stop, you will know how to listen. When you know how to listen, you will discern. And when you discern, you will no longer walk nervously afraid of being wrong, but with the lightness of someone who knows they are being guided. I also want to teach you how to rebuild the inner places that are tired from chasing emotions. There are parts of you that are overly sensitive to the noise of the world but dull to my voice. Not because you are stubborn, but because no one ever taught you how to care for your soul. I will begin with the simplest things: stillness, slow breathing, listening, and releasing control. These are not psychological techniques. They are ways for your soul to become soft, sensitive, and reconnected to me. As you learn this, you will find yourself peaceful in situations that used to overwhelm you. Now I want you to understand something else. A healed soul chooses rightly with far greater ease. You think you compromise because you are weak, but the truth is you compromise because you are wounded. You do not run toward the wrong because you desire it, but because you lack what is right. I do not fix behavior first. I heal the root. And when the root is healed, actions change naturally. When the heart is full, it does not seek temporary comforts. When the soul is rested, it does not search for dangerous escapes. I want you to know that the healing I am doing in you is the foundation for every good choice you will make later. You do not need to strain to become good. You only need to let me soften the places in you that have hardened. I want to take you one step further, learning to obey me before you understand everything. You often want full information before feeling safe to follow. But I do not teach you with maps. I teach you with steps. Obedience is not force. It is deep trust that I always lead rightly. You will not always understand immediately, but you will always feel the peace that follows when you obey. And as you see that peace again and again, your trust will grow without being forced. I see in your heart a quiet fear that says, if I fail again, maybe I will make you sad. But I want you to remember this: I do not grow sad the way people do. I know you are learning. I know you are maturing. I know you are shedding old layers. I know the fear of abandonment still influences how you react, and I do not blame you. I am patient with every step you take. I do not expect perfection. I expect you to return whenever you feel lost. That is the only thing I need: your returning. When you return, I will continue teaching. When you fall, I will lift you up. When you grow weary, I will renew your strength. And this is what I want to seal in this section. My guidance is not a burden, it is liberation. When you learn to live by my voice, you will no longer be pulled by emotions, pushed by circumstances, or controlled by people. You will know where you stand, where you belong, and which direction you must walk. You will walk without trembling, without guessing. without fearing that you might open the wrong door. You will walk as someone healed, taught, and led. And I, the one who understands you more than anything, will walk with you in every rhythm, every day, every decision, my child. Now I want to close the most important part of this journey by bringing you to the place where everything begins and where everything is healed, the place of surrender. Not surrender as in giving up, but surrender as one who realizes they have stepped off rhythm and wants to return to where the light is. I do not require you to understand everything before you come back. I only want you willing to open your heart, because when you open your heart, I can do what no circumstance can do, rebuild you from the inside. Everything I have done in this message moves toward this. For I did not come to correct a few flaws. I came to change the entire direction. And changing direction does not begin with effort, it begins with softness. You now see clearly the connection between choices, spiritual doors, and consequences. But I will not let you stop at awareness. I am bringing you into restoration. You cannot move forward if you still carry a hidden, lingering guilt. I do not build your spiritual life upon self-blame. I build it upon recovery. I know you are tired of forcing yourself to do better. But, my child, I want you to hear this deeply. What is right does not flow from your striving. It flows from your connection with me. When you reconnect with me, your mind becomes clear. When your mind is clear, your decisions align. When your decisions align, the door of peace opens. I am guiding you back into the rhythm you were always meant to live, in the rhythm of walking with me. Not ahead of me, not behind me, but with me. I want you to understand those events did not come to break you, but to soften you, to make you more able to hear my voice. You have lived long enough in the old way, reacting by instinct and choosing by emotion. You no longer want to return to that way of living, and I will not let you return, not by force, but through a very real pathway: humility, listening, examining your motives, choosing peace over reaction, choosing me over the noise. All of these will lead you to the place I have prepared for you long ago. You feel as though you have been walking in circles, but in truth you have been moving correctly. Now I want to teach you how to hear me in a new way, not hearing with emotion alone, but with inner attentiveness, not hearing merely to survive a crisis, but to sustain a way of life, not hearing to react, but to be guided. You will see me in the smallest nudges, a quiet unrest in your spirit, a gentle prompting to pause, a whisper in your heart, a verse surfacing without reason, a soft impression in your mind. Do not dismiss these. That is how I speak. You used to think I had to speak loudly to be real, but I am gentler and more patient than you ever imagined. If you take a few seconds to be still, you will realize I am there, very clear, very real, very near. Hearing me is not difficult. What is difficult is that you have grown accustomed to living too fast to notice. I also want you to step into a new way of obedience. Not obedience rooted in fear of punishment, but obedience because you know my direction is right. Not obedience from forcing yourself, but obedience because your heart is beginning to love what is right. Love what is light. Love what is peace. Obedience is not a burden. Obedience is the lifestyle of a soul that has found its true rhythm. You will discover something wondrous when you choose what I say. You become free. When you choose what I lead, you become lighter. When you choose to follow, your past no longer clouds your sight, and this will mark the shift in your season. You will no longer live to avoid mistakes. You will live to walk in what is right. My child, I know you fear repeating old failures, but I want you to rest assured when I lead you. You will not repeat the mistakes of the past, not because you are strong, but because I am your keeper, not because you are more cautious, but because I open your eyes, not because you know everything, but because I go before you. You must learn this to truly feel free. No failure repeats when you walk with me, step by step. Old mistakes only return when you follow old voices. You are learning a new voice now, and therefore you will open new doors. And those new doors are the doors of peace, the very thing you have longed for. Now, I invite you to step into the final part of this journey, to live again within the plan I have prepared for you. That plan is not the version you once imagined when your emotions were leading you. It is quieter, steadier, and brighter. It carries no shade of haste, but the tone of understanding. It is not reactive, but constructive. It does not rely on chance, but on guidance. I want you to look back and see that everything I have said from the beginning has pointed you toward one thing: life. True life. Life with peace. Life that is healed. Life that is led. So take a deep breath and let your heart settle. You are no longer in the chaotic zone of hurried decisions. You have been brought out, taught again, and guided back to the right path. You no longer need to strain to find solutions. You only need to follow me. From here, you live not to avoid mistakes, but to move in harmony with me. You live not to hide your wounds, but to heal them from the root. You live not to react to crisis, but to be built up in peace. You live not alone, but under my companionship. And here is the final seal I place upon you in this message. You are invited into the path of peace, the path I have long prepared, the path where you will not only be kept, but be restored completely. My child, I want to take you into the gentle depth your soul truly needs, where everything I have spoken does not simply reach your mind, but sinks into the roots of your emotions. You have stepped out of the whirlwind of haste, yet small corners inside you remain tense, waiting for one last reassurance to truly breathe. I do not come to analyze you, but to hold the parts you do not yet know how to offer. You understand the reason now. You see the direction. But you still need to hear this. I am not disappointed in you. What you call a flaw, I see as the sign of a heart trying to find its way home. Nothing in you frightens me. Nothing in you makes me step back. I know there were days you asked yourself, which door did I open for things to become this messy? You think I came to speak about mistakes, but I came to speak about the restoration of rhythm. You did not realize that prolonged exhaustion made you act out of instinct, and instinct opened the door to chaos. But I do not crush instinct, I heal it. You do not need to be ashamed of your unconscious reactions. I see the motives beneath them that have always been pure: the desire for peace, the desire to be understood, the desire to be loved rightly. And I have come to give you what you spent too long searching for in the wrong places. Remember David, he once ran in fear and thought his impulsive decision would end everything. But I led him back to Ziklag, the place where he wept until he had no strength left, and from there learned to rise again and pursue what was lost. Do you see? Mistakes do not destroy the future. Mistakes simply open a doorway for me to teach again, rebuild again, and lead even farther. This is how I work with you. And remember Peter, the one who believed he had committed an unforgivable failure. Yet I did not come to him with a rod of accusation. I came with a charcoal fire by the sea, asking questions not to remind him of guilt, but to call him back to his true purpose. I am doing that with you now, not calling you into a courtroom of charges, but calling you back to the table, where love is greater than stumbling. You must let these two stories melt into your heart, not to compare yourself, but to understand that I have never seen you as a burden. Your haste did not push me away. Your wrong door did not disappoint me. I simply saw a child running too fast who needed someone to stop them with gentleness. Let that gentleness reach the deepest part of you. I did not come to reopen old chapters. I came to lift you out of the fear that you will always get it wrong. No, you are not always wrong. You simply need to be led, and I am leading you. I want you to feel this truth like breath itself. The healing I give you is not fragile. It does not depend on your moods. It does not waver when you are unstable. It does not shrink when you are weak. I heal you with the steadiness of a love that does not change. When you soften, I embrace you. When you harden, I wait. When you wander, I guide. When you ache, I bend low. You do not need to maintain this healing. I am the one who preserves it for you. There are things you believe will take years to resolve, but I am resolving them through small, incredibly small, yet precise steps. A thought renewed, an emotion soothed, an old memory untangled, a voice of self-blame silenced. You do not yet realize that these tiny shifts are the foundation of a stable future. I do not change you overnight, but I change you every day, little by little, layer by layer. So one day, when you look back, you will be astonished to see how far you have walked from the chaos you once knew. My beloved child, the deepest work I am doing in you during this season is this: I am correcting the way you see yourself. Because you can only walk rightly when you believe rightly about your worth. You are not someone who easily fails. You are someone who becomes spiritually sensitive when you quiet your heart. You are not someone who always compromises. You are someone who is thirsty for what is right but has not always known where to look. You are not someone who has no future. You are someone whose future I am redesigning from the very roots. You are not someone who deserves chaos. You are someone I have called out to live in deep peace. You do not step into peace by effort, but by letting me lead you. You do not need to prove you are worthy. You only need to let me touch the places you have locked away. And once you do, everything I promised will flow to you like water, not forced, not resisted, not noisy, but gentle and real. I know there are things you have heard your entire life but never truly believed in your heart. You heard people say, "I love," but you always thought, perhaps he loves everyone. And as for me, well, maybe he loves me too, but not as much as them. You heard that I am near, but you believed I was near to others. While with you, I stayed at a distance. You heard that I heal, but you assumed that healing belonged to those who did not fail in the way you did. I know those doubts are not rebellion. They are simply wounds no one has tended. And so I come to you softly, as gently as possible, so you will not fear, so you will not retreat, so you will not think I have come to judge you. No, I come to sit beside you so close that if your soul could feel warmth, it would sense mine right next to it. Let me speak this as though placing warm oil upon your heart. You have never been a burden to me. You have never been someone I had to put up with. You have never been someone I needed to fix quickly. You are the one I call with tenderness. You are the one I wait for with patience. You are the one whose rhythm I gently adjust. Because I know your value is far greater than what you see. You see where you fell, but I see where you will rise. You see the tangled path, but I see the new road already prepared. You see your exhaustion, but I see the strength you have not yet discovered. And I do all this not out of obligation, but out of delight, out of love. There were moments you blamed yourself for being swept into rushed decisions. I understand in those moments, your soul was looking for a way out. When you felt lonely, you searched for warmth. When you were wounded, you looked for a shoulder. When you felt lost, you reached for something to hold on to. And in those moments, you did not choose me, not because you rejected me, but because you did not yet know I was standing right beside you, waiting for you to turn. I do not blame you for seeking in the wrong place. I invite you to seek again in the right one. No judgment. No disappointment. Only the soft truth: you need me more than you knew. I want to open your heart to this. Some wounds do not disappear instantly, but they dissolve in my presence. You do not need to understand everything today. You do not need to be entirely healed today. You do not need to walk perfectly in rhythm today. I only want you to remain in me long enough for you to see that the things which once made you tremble will no longer control you. Not because you are strong, but because I am relaxing the tension in your heart. The tension you carried for far too long. There are memories you do not want to revisit, yet they quietly influence you. I want to place my hand upon those places, not to hurt you further, but to make sure they no longer hurt you, like a gentle healer placing his hand over a bruise. I do not press hard, I hold lightly. Then a little more. Then a little more. Until the pain begins to soften. That is what I want to do with your heart, not rushed, not forced, not shocking. Because true healing is not noise, true healing is breath. You may not notice it, but every day I am adjusting the flow of your thoughts so you no longer react from old wounds but respond from new light. You will act from clarity rather than fear. You will choose from peace rather than chaos. You once felt you were not spiritual enough to hear me, but let that thought go. You hear me not because you are skilled, but because I speak clearly. You recognize me not because you are holy, but because I draw near. You sense my guidance not because you are strong, but because I speak in a way your soul can understand. All you need is to learn how to lean. When you lean, you receive. When you rest, you hear. When you open your heart, you will see what you have never seen, not because you changed instantly, but because I am opening your spiritual eyes little by little. And I know the thing you fear most is not the mistake itself, but the fear that your mistakes have ruined what I planned for you. So hear this as a word of liberation. No plan of mine is destroyed by the sincere mistakes of your heart. You are not strong enough to break what I build. If I need to rewrite, I rewrite. If I need to redirect, I redirect. If I need more time, I take more time. The only thing I need is a soft heart that lets me lead. And your heart is softening, hour by hour, day by day. In a way heaven has seen long before you recognized it. Do not fear your slow pace, just walk with me. Do not fear your weaknesses. Your weakness is where my strength rests. Do not fear not being holy enough. It is precisely because you are weak that I choose to stay close. Like a gentle healer placing his hand over a bruise, I do not press hard, I hold lightly. Then a little more. Then a little more. Until the pain begins to soften. That is what I want to do with your heart, not rushed, not forced, not shocking. Because true healing is not noise, true healing is breath. You may not notice it, but every day I am adjusting the flow of your thoughts so you no longer react from old wounds but respond from new light. You will act from clarity rather than fear. Not the life of striving, but the life of renewal. Not the life of force, but the life of guidance. I am rewriting what chaos once wrote upon you. I am healing what fear once tore. I am undoing what haste once opened wrongly. And you are stepping out lighter, deeper, truer. All of it comes from me, for you, and within you. I know there are still quiet places inside you that you have not dared to touch, because you fear that if you open them, the pain will rush out like a flood. But I want you to understand this: I never touch a wound before preparing your heart to receive the healing it carries. I know the level your heart can bear. I know the pace your soul can absorb. I know the moment when you are safe enough for me to open one more layer. And today, I see that you are safe enough to release just a little deeper. Not so you would hurt, but so you would be free. For years, you have grown used to hiding the most fragile parts of yourself. But you do not need to hide them from me. I do not see them as burdens. I see them as opportunities to show you that my love is greater than your limits. Look back at the seasons when you thought I was silent. In truth, I was never silent. I was speaking in languages you did not recognize at the time, through delays that forced you to stop, through exhaustion that kept you from running into the wrong doors, through gentle disappointments that revealed your misplaced expectations. I never left you to figure things out alone. I was simply redirecting you toward a path you could not yet see. That silence was not abandonment. It was silent intervention, like a potter who speaks nothing while reshaping the clay. I too was quiet while reshaping you from the inside. My silence was not emptiness. It was a sacred space where you became soft enough for a new form. There are moments when your soul whispers, "Am I truly important enough to be loved this deeply?" I hear that question. And I want to place the answer you need into your heart, not just with words, but with my presence. You have always mattered to me, not because you are perfect, but because you belong to me, not because you always do right, but because you are the one I have chosen to keep. When I look at you, I do not see the things you regret, the hurried moments, or the hidden mistakes. I see a soul learning to walk rightly with remarkable persistence. I see the original goodness I placed within you at the beginning. I see potential, not problems. I see you turning toward me, and that alone makes me smile. Let me take this one layer deeper. You are not defined by what you lack. You are defined by the work of my hands within you. A child learning to walk is not scolded for falling. It is lifted because its legs are growing stronger. You are the same. Each time you fall, you do not grow weaker, you gain another layer of wisdom. Each time you pause, you do not lose momentum, you gain alignment. Each time you return, you do not fail, you overcome the part of you that wanted to control everything alone. I do not measure you by how many times you fall, but by how many times you return to let me shape your hands again. And you return more often than you realize. I want you to know this, so your heart stops condemning itself, for I have never condemned you. You once feared that I would punish you for opening the wrong door, but you must hear this as a complete release at the root. I do not use fear to teach you. The only thing I use to correct you is love. Love draws you into humility. Love opens your eyes. Love helps you see the motives you once ignored. Love teaches you to listen deeply. Love helps you discern the right doors from the wrong ones. Love teaches you how to live. There is no threat in my guidance, only light. I know there are places within you that have grown weary from carrying the weight for too long. You have lived as someone who believed everything depended on you. You once thought that if you did not hold yourself together, you would break. But you did not know that this very belief is what exhausted you. You were not created to live independently of me. You were created to live dependent on my guidance, not a dependency of weakness, but of trust. When you lean on me, you become truly strong. When you give me what you have been holding alone, you become truly light. When you let me go before you, you become truly safe. I do not need you to twist yourself into someone strong. I only need you to give me room to be strong for you. And believe this, I never begin a work I do not complete. I have begun the healing within you, and I will finish it. I have begun the journey of helping you hear me more clearly, and you will hear truly. I have begun teaching you to live in peace, and that peace will become your nature. I have begun gathering the scattered places within your soul, and the day will come when you will feel the wholeness you have long desired. Everything I touch ends in life. Nothing I repair becomes worse. Nothing I reshape fails to become new. My child, now that every word has reached the softest places of your soul, I want you to hold on to one truth: you no longer have to walk alone. Everything you have just heard is not theory. It is the path I have opened, and you only need to walk in it. You do not need to be perfect before you step forward. You only need to step with a heart that leans on me. From today, you no longer live to hold yourself up, but to be guided. Not running from fear, but walking because you belong to peace. I go before you. I stand beside you. And I dwell within you. Just keep walking. For every step you take is a new story I am writing with my very breath inside you. You have begun, and I will lead you to the end. May the word of the Lord continually remind you to live each day in His faith and His love. Please hit follow and turn on notifications so you won't miss the sacred and meaningful messages the Lord wants to speak to you. May God bless you. Amen.